So I'm Sean with CirrusTel. Thanks for joining, and let's get it kicked off now with a brief video introduction about CirrusTel.
The world moves forward at an exponential pace. We are impartial arbiters of knowledge. We are the navigators of disruption. We link our known to your unknown. We anticipate what it will take to thrive. Protecting your potential for growth in an exponential world. We are the trusted advisor. The world moves forward at an exponential. The world moves forward.
All right, that's a cool video we have on that. So let's just talk a little bit more about the trusted advisor for anybody that's on that hasn't heard that terminology before. So first, let's talk about why a trusted advisor. A couple of reasons. One, from the vendor perspective, it's a more effective way to market their solution. And it's also a better solution to the client when it relates to their services they're providing, because the trusted advisor can take and mix and match the different technologies and the best use cases from one vendor with another to solve the client's requirements at the end of the day. So that's going to yield better performance and better outcomes for you as a client. And it's also going to save you, and as we go through this, you'll learn that you can save more time, money, and energy and effort by utilizing a trusted advisor to make better informed decisions. So what is a trusted advisor? We're simply an extension of your team at no cost and no out-of-pocket to you and your organization. We're there to fully support you in procurement analysis, engineering, project management, and to resolve the vendor issues post-sale or post-implementation. We're not a middleman. We're not buying and reselling the services. We're strictly there to complement you and your team to make a better informed decision. So what makes CirrusTel, what I like to say, the 1%er in the marketplace, or different in this movement that's taken place over the last few years? And we're going to hear about that movement more in our guest speaker in Drew LyDecker that'll be coming up. But from a CirrusTel perspective, it's our methodology. And I'll talk a little bit about that, or you'll see that, I should say, in my background over the last couple of decades. Before I got into technology consulting, I was in finance and operations. And so me and my partners, what we've done is we've taken the best practices of Six Sigma, ISO, and coupled that with the best practices of technology around ITIL, for example, to come up with this methodology. The tools that we have to utilize to help you make those best informed decisions are second to none. And we've been empowered with those tools through AVANT's network and ecosystem that they put together and have developed over the years. And after this webinar, you'll get some follow-up from us. You'll get a recording of the webinar, but you'll get some follow-up correspondence as well. And I hope you'll take me up on some of the things that we're doing and promos around taking a 60-minute meeting with us to be able to go through those tools and really see how we're empowering you to make better informed decisions. Decisions that would normally take an organization a year, we can do within minutes in formulating and coming in with the data, not just the data from us, but from other trusted sources like industry leading analysts like Gartner and Forrester. And then we have our Tenara scorecard, technology needs and requirements assessment or analysis for you. And this is truly unique to CirrusTel. This is where we're taking your requirements, your needs from 4 key areas or aspects of your business: finance, operations, legal, and IT, and doing an objective analysis for you so that you can make the best informed decision. So essentially, you can think of us as the Navy SEALs around telecom and cloud, supported by an army of technology experts. And that ecosystem of experts is made up of hundreds of people across different disciplines that AVANT has been able to enable us with. So a little bit about myself, for the people that don't know me. I like to kind of joke and say I'm a pretty young guy with old man stripes. And I say that because of the couple decades of experience that I have, and that I was baptized by fire and brought into senior level management positions in the organization that brought me to the US from Canada. We actually took a company from $500,000 in revenue to 25 million in just about 5 years' time. So you can imagine the challenges that we faced. And in those roles on the finance and operations side, I was responsible for or led the charge around the IT initiatives that we had, directly or indirectly reporting to the CIO of those companies. To then I moved into technology consulting, mostly as a trusted advisor, and have worked with very large companies across the spectrum, and also some smaller companies as well. And from a personal side, my kids are growing. They're out of the household. They're in their 20s, and I've got 3 grandkids, 5, 5, and 4. So that's where the old man stripes come from. All right, so the technology that CirrusTel can help you with is really across the entire wide area network or spectrum. So it can be any one of these technology stacks, I like to say, or it can be laser focused in on one. And we have the global capability across 350 providers in our portfolio. And today we're going to jump into CCaaS more specifically, which is contact center as a service. All right, so what is contact center as a service? Hopefully it's not this, right? We've all been there. We've all been this guy or gal that's been on the phone, tried to get a hold of somebody, and we sneeze, we get kicked out of the IVR, we hit the wrong button, we have to start over. They ask us for our information 10 times over. We're frustrated, we can't get to the right person. Well, in order to get to the right person, you have to have the technology combined with common sense and practical use to really get that user experience and customer experience nailed down so they're not faced or leaving or trying to get to a hold of you looking like this guy. So what you're going to find out today as we go through this, and I want you to really step back for a minute and listen to everything in the questions, because don't think of contact centers as a service only as that large room full of cubicles with people inside trying to answer the calls kind of thing for, you know, healthcare, banking, insurance. Yes, definitely that's perfect fit for the technology and can do you right in those verticals. But it's really about getting connected most efficiently to the person you want to get connected to. So if you're an accountant, if you have a law firm, for example, you can now enable your customers through this technology to look at a question, filter through very efficiently right from their smartphone, to then click through and be able to connect to the right person. Imagine now vendor management, for example, how you can integrate that with your system so people trying to get updates about what's going on with even a payment to them as a vendor, that can be automated. If you're trying to improve your sales organization so that your customers can get to the person that sold them more effectively, that can happen. So it's really more about connecting people most efficiently to the right person within an organization. And that can be across any kind of department within an organization. So that's what I had to tee up for the moment about CirrusTel and a brief introduction about today's webinar. And today we have a really great guest speaker in AVANT that's going to tee things up for us around the market overview and some trends and insights that they've uncovered in the marketplace. Then we're going to jump into that panel discussion with Genesys and Five9 before we do some open Q&A with you in the audience today. Now, stick around to the end because there's going to be a couple questions I ask that will have one lucky winner get a $250 Visa gift card. So you do have to stick around, for the very end to shoot into the chat and try to get a $250 Visa gift card. So before I tee it off to Drew here, or hand it off to Drew, I do want to mention, Drew, as the founder, co-founder, and president of AVANT, has really transformed this marketplace and this movement of executives utilizing the tools that the trusted advisor bring together, that AVANT has amassed over years of analysis and research, that empower us as the trusted advisor, again, to have at our fingertips things that would take months to be able to gather up, to have the engineering expertise from an agnostic standpoint to understand what is the difference from one provider's technology to another. Again, to enable us and our customers to make the best possible informed decision in the most efficient and effective way. So Drew, thanks for what you do for us. I know you got a lot of great things to share, so I'm going to turn it over to you now so that you can let us know what you found in the market.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And thanks for everybody for hopping on here. It looks like we got a great crowd, and I know we got two major disruptors on here today with Genesys and Five9 that are going to do a deep dive into what they're all about. But I guess I'm on here too for a little bit motivation. It's the first time I haven't given slides in a while, which I'm really actually excited about. I just get 5 minutes to say hi to everybody, bring the energy, make sure that you guys are all fired up, because right now I'm looking out the window. I think probably a lot of you guys are in Florida right now. It is probably 5 degrees here. I think if you threw water out my window, it instantly freezes. So I've got my sweater on today. Happy to be in this virtual world. Happy to be talking about CCaaS. Somebody's already asked a question, what's CX mean? CX means everything to every company, to everyone on here. It's probably why you're here today. And it's really about a fancy thing for customer experience. And I think in the spirit of today's call, this education session, it's really about potentially transforming the company that you work for today in the view of your internal employees and your external employees forever. Today, we're in a highly competitive world. Every single company is in a competitive situation. And we all know that standing out and customer service is pretty much essential to companies today. I think Zappos is a great example of a company who defined customer service, defined customer experience, defined really CCaaS to a degree in its infancy before it was even a big buzzword or super cool. And I'm going to touch upon something first, though, that Sean brought up earlier. Sean is a trusted advisor. I own AVANT, the platform for the trusted advisors, and Sean is unequivocally one of the top trusted advisors in the United States, bar none. And he is that true extension of your IT staff. And to just kind of help solidify what Sean was saying, the trusted advisor's job is to navigate the confusion that disruption is giving everyone. Right now, you've got choices from an IT perspective of companies that you've maybe never heard of before. Now, Five9 and Genesys are relatively household names in the IT community to a degree, but they're definitely not IBM, HP, AT&T, and what have you, right? They are much more laser-focused, niched companies that do a few things, and they do it better than anyone else on the planet. So what you're finding is, Sean and I used to work for very big companies back in the day that sold big household names. And that used to be really what IT was all about. I think we could all agree, right? You never get fired for going with Big Blue. Well, today, you're probably gonna get fired if you go all in with Big Blue, right? That's the fact, because any company that does 8,000 different things can't be super good at anything in particular. These two firms here are laser focused on CCaaS, which is becoming one of the most powerful tools for IT to bring in and transform their companies. Let me explain what I mean by that. A lot of you today have probably MPLS networks. You've got traditional wireline networking, right? Sean and I come from that department too. We're old school telecom guys. I guess that's also where we get our old man stripes from as well. And we could tell you everything about the transition from frame relay to MPLS and the differences between all the MPLS networks out there. But let's be honest, whenever we switched you from one MPLS network to another MPLS network, did we ever change your life? Did we ever change the way your company looks and feels to the outside world, to the inside world? Probably not. If anything, maybe it created a little bit of a headache because of the transition, but ultimately, for the most part, those zeros and ones just went to a different zeros and ones down a different pipe, right? Today, as trusted advisors, we are bringing technology that could take you from being that non-Zappos company to Zappos and beyond. And service providers like Five9 and Genesys can do it like no other. And we can do it now with this service provider community faster than you could ever even imagine. Now, today you're going to get a special gift when you're done with this, listening to us talk about the CCaaS industry. You're going to get one of the state of disruption reports that my company puts out around research and analytics. We put out number of reports. You can go to goavant.net and download any of those as well on the 612 reports, which is what's going to happen in the next 6 to 12 months. And we have a new one coming out in the next couple of weeks. And I thought I would just give you some little teasers around that. And we went out and interviewed over 500 CIOs from about 150 million in revenue companies up to 50 billion in revenue. And we asked, why are you thinking about moving to CCaaS in the next 12 months? We found the number one reason is a lot of contracts are coming up on traditional legacy telecommunications maintenance contracts, traditional old school kind of what we call the 10-year playbook, which, most IT staffs have been doing over the last 10 years. The second biggest one was they were unsatisfied with their current tech support and they were falling behind their competition in CX and customer support. And then the third one was with the evolution of CCaaS as a service in OpEx, the CapEx model had that ship had sailed. They had changed their model and looking for an OpEx, more flexible consumption-based model. Those are kind of the top three that came out of that. The benefits that people were really seeking from their new CCaaS platform, the number one was their existing on-prem capabilities did not lack the functionality of the modern world. What we found through our research was that the majority of the enterprise today has moved their applications to the cloud. And the ability to hook into that cloud and harvest that information in a new way through their CCaaS platforms was the number one takeaway. They wanted to avoid complex day-to-day management. That was number two. And that is absolutely what Sean can help all of you today understand the differences between all the players. When you move to a new CCaaS platform, everything that we do in this world is very white glove, right? Not only is Sean an extension of your IT staff, everybody at AVANT and all of the service providers, but the engineers and the folks that take care of these particular solutions. We all know the number three one was pretty obvious, but this is agents at home in multiple locations, and we've gone to a diverse and dispersed workplace. And nothing is set up better than the cloud for that, obviously, for various reasons. And then the top three integration requirements that came out of the latest report, that's not out yet. Number one was Salesforce. Actually, over 20% of the respondents said Salesforce integration was the number one movement to their CCaaS environment, into why they're moving to their CCaaS environment. And it was pretty interesting. The top two and top three were also CRMs, from Microsoft Dynamics to ServiceNow. Those two other applications, what we like to call the layer 7 applications, these are the driving factors behind moving to some of these platforms. And trust me, the panelists are going to get into that today. But I like to say, as a trusted advisor, talking about layer 7 applications, these applications that don't live inside of your data centers anymore, they live somewhere else. As trusted advisors, we make that layer 7 dance. We bring in providers like this that can plug into those layer 7 applications and truly make them perform in a way that they couldn't without this technology. So without further ado, I'm not quite sure who's first up, Sean, but I wanted to kind of give you my overview, and then we'll go from there.
Perfect. Yeah, and just before we tee it up here, Alex, while you kind of get your presentation ready to dive in, Drew, I think something that you mentioned there, and I like how you said, you know, make the CCaaS dance, because that environment today is so much more complex than when it was the old school data center connected with MPLS or point-to-points or whatnot to do it. And making sure that that rest of your environment and infrastructure is properly aligned so that the CCaaS provider is integrated at the right level to Salesforce or in the right location, tying in the AWS and Azure public cloud or GCP into that, which, you know, that's something I noticed as well in the state of disruption. You know, we all know how fast that environment is moving, and that's really key to making everything just dance, like you said, you know. And there's multiple companies to be able to do it and do it well for any organization that's on this call today. And that's really something that us combined with AVANT and all that engineering support can just help the customer navigate through that complexity and simplify it, that anybody at the table making the decisions for that organization could understand how they got to, say, Genesys or Five9. So Alex, I'll tee it over to you then to drum up the discussion there on Genesys, and we'll probably ask you a few questions while you go through that.
And
awesome.
Alex, before you get going here, I just want to touch on that because, Sean, that's such a good point, right? I speak in front of, you know, obviously CIOs, CTOs, director of ITs, you know, head of contact centers every single day. And I often say the first move I would get as the CIO of Nabisco would be implementing one of these providers today from a UCaaS and a CCaaS perspective. Why? To your point, Sean, that you just brought up, applications now live all over the place. My employees live all over the place. My offices live all over the place. Everything is different. That complete complexity of that on-prem boat anchor that used to be that on-prem everything that I lived and died on, paid maintenance from, CapEx, constantly had to upgrade, now is in the cloud world constantly doing that for me in just a monthly recurring charge, but it's automatically native API hooking into all of those applications and truly making them all dance, but giving me visibility and big data that I never had inside of these other very expensive applications that I'm paying for on a monthly basis. So you're right. I just want everybody to kind of get that as we go through this. Both Genesys and Five9s are going to talk about that, but this should be where a lot of those questions should come up today too as well. Alex?
Awesome. Thanks, Drew, and thanks, Sean. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining. So my name is Alex Ball. I'm a VP of Sales at Genesys. I've been with the company about 8 years and been focused on our cloud product the entire time. So let me share my screen here, and maybe if Sean or Drew can give me a thumbs up when you got that.
Actually, you're good.
I saw Sean's face turn a nice shade of orange there, so I just had the non-verbal
reflection.
Yeah, exactly, the non-verbal confirmation. So I'm going to go through kind of a quick background on who Genesys is and you know why we do what we do, and feel free to ask any questions. If you don't get to ask them verbally, drop them in the chat, and I can answer them in a little bit. So, you know, kind of high level, Genesys is probably one of the largest software companies that you don't have a Super Bowl commercial for. So large company, over 5,000 plus employees. We are a very global company. So we have offices and do business in over 100 different countries. That includes our cloud platform. So the largest global cloud platform that we have in the market. Over 11,000 customers and over 400,000 agents that log in every single day. So there's 400,000 concurrent agents on our platform at one time. And so recognized broadly in the market. So this is the most recent Gartner Magic Quadrant, which you can see. We've got 3 leaders up there, and Genesys is right up there at the top, furthest along in completeness of vision. So really pumped about that, about the vision for where we're going and what we're looking to accomplish in this market. And so that brings me to the next part, is really talking about vision. And it's one that I think Genesys is doing a really solid job at creating our own niche. And it's not to take away from contact center as a service, because that is the market that we operate in. That's the known commodity. But we're really focused on elevating that into what is essentially going to be a new category of experience as a service. So really subscribing to great experiences. And that's centered around 3 key pillars. And so that starts with empathy. Empathy is the #1 pillar in how we operate as a business unit, as a company, and also how we want our customers to operate with their customers. And, empathy, I think a lot of times in current situation, you feel about empathy when there's, a death in the family or some kind of tragic event. But the actual definition is simply the ability to understand and share in the feelings of another, which at the root of it, that's what you want your agents to do, right? When they pick up the phone, when they start chatting, when they start messaging with somebody, you want them to understand and feel for the customer on the line. And so the empathy is the foundation for our platform and our vision of going to market. The next one is trust, right? That's a pretty simple one. A firm belief in the reliability, the truth, the ability, or the strength of someone or something. And ultimately, that is your brand, right? So when your agents are on the phone or on messaging, wherever they might be, you want them to act with empathy. And at the end of the day, you want them to be portraying a feeling that your customers trust you. They build trust and caring for your brand, and we want to be the engine that powers that. And then the final pillar is loyalty, right? So with trust, you build loyalty, and that's simply a strong feeling of support and allegiance. And the main thing that this all comes together is that loyal customers generate 2.5 times more value than non-loyal customers. And so at the end of the day, when you come to Genesys, when you get involved with Genesys through Sean and the relationships we have with the advisors, is to really focus on how do we create empathy, trust, and loyalty, not how we solve your IVR. We'll do that too, but the core of it is how do we build loyal customers? Because loyal customers to you are going to generate more value. They're more valuable than non-loyal customers. So that's really our focus. So how do we do it? It's a little bit of an eyesore from a chart perspective, but I kind of want to walk you through. We've got a customer journey and then an employee journey, because when you look at experiences as a service or contact center as a service, it's not just the customers, it's also your employees. So it starts from a customer standpoint with predictive engagement, understanding why are your customers on your website? Why are they calling here? Why are they walking into that store? Using our AI, which is baked into our platform, we create profiles and we create personas on those individuals. So we have a pretty good idea what they're calling for, what they're texting for, what are they trying to accomplish? And through that, we can introduce self-service and assisted service with our AI through bots, chatbots, and voice bots. On the employee side, we've got a whole WEM suite around, and that's a native workforce engagement suite. So not just workforce management, it's not just scheduling, but it's an entire gamification, training, predictive analysis, and really optimizing the skills of your employees so that they can serve those agents with that empathy, trust, and loyalty. And then moving into scheduling and forecasting, making sure you got the right people on the phone at the right time to answer these calls and texts and chats and whatever it might be. And they merge together when you start to have those customers come to your brand. And so we use predictive routing, which is another one of our AI technologies, on how to get the best match at the right time to maximize the correct outcome. And that's different for each brand. So that's something else to keep in mind. Us, Five9, we're not a one-size-fits-all platform. And that's one of the advantages here. We're not just a call center. And each contact center, each group is going to have a different outcome. They want something different out of it. And so that's where predictive routing really hones in on understanding, okay, Mr. Customer, what are you trying to accomplish your goals? And we're going to set our predictive routing to get that outcome. As we move through that
Alex,
journey. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Alex, I have a question for you there. I know you have a couple case studies or whatnot that you'll go through that might address some of this, but as I hear this, right, if I'm putting on my customer's hat and, it's new technology, what's the training component of Genesys, and what's that experience like, and the assistance that they get from you in mapping this journey together, your involvement to help them, because you guys are the experts in that, one of the experts in that arena. Can you talk a little bit about your team's involvement as a part of this journey and the things that you take from the heavy lifting off of them?
Yeah, there's a lot. I would say we take a lot of the heavy lifting up front, certainly within initial deployments and within initial kind of mapping and scoping out of really what you're trying to accomplish. We do, it is a two-way street. A one-way Genesys deployment with no input from the customer usually is not going to be all that great for anybody. Right? We need input and we need guidance from the customer to really understand their business, to understand what the key metrics that they're going for. And once we have that, though, we can create this experience alongside them to really understand, if you're from a predictive routing, if you're trying to get sales, right, you're trying to maximize revenue, then that's the outcome that we need to route for. We have all the data pieces. We can plug it into our AI model and use that to get that specific call. Again, we're creating the profiles up front. Why are they calling to the correct agent that's most likely to turn that and convert it into a sale based on the type of call that they've got. On top of that, we have part of our programs that we have is to enable our customers. At the end of the day, one of the nice things about cloud platforms and Genesys Cloud specifically is your hands are not tied to us. If we got hit by a bus tomorrow, you could continue to run the platform without anybody from our side getting involved. And so we include complete certification subscriptions with our offers, so that 3, 5, or 10 individuals at your company become certified in Genesys Cloud and can become their own admins. So you don't need us at all. A lot of customers will still use us, again, for that best practices, stuff like that. But making changes, making tweaks, optimizing, you shouldn't have to pick up the phone and call us every time. You've got teams to do that. We're going to give you the tools to be able to do it in a way that's cost effective and quick.
Great. Thanks for jumping in on that midway there. You knocked it out of the park. I think people can really realize that, they're not at it alone. You're going to be there to help guide them, make informative suggestions, as would Five9, in how do you best correlate the data to get it to the right person and help train them. And that's all part of the solution. So they're not at it alone. So I really appreciate you diving in on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of continuing through that customer journey, kind of the ability to assist employees in real time. So with knowledge management, knowledge information, that agent assistance is what we like to call it. Like, again, we know the profiles, we know why they're calling. Let's give that information to the agent in real time and make it easy for them to do their job. The number one cost in contact centers and CX spaces is not the cost of the bill you're paying to Genesys or Five9. It's the humans. It's the people that are sitting in the seats. And so one of our core requirements is to make it easy for them to do their job. If they're doing their job effectively, they're not going to leave. You'll have lower turnover, lower attrition rates, lower costs related to that. And so a core component of Genesys Cloud is wrapping the employees into this whole equation just as much as the customers are. And then once that interaction's done, it's really, really critical that we close the loop on it. We want to get the voice of that customer. We want to get feedback from them. How did it go? We want to use that in training. And so customer goes off and does their own thing and gives us some feedback and some voice of the customer. And then on our side and the employee side, we use our business intelligence and our business interactions to understand how can we have made that better? Because that's the other thing that I love about cloud is you don't have to wait 4 months for the next deployment, right? You can quickly iterate on it. You can make a change that's live the next call. So really, really powerful when you look at the customer journey. So I'll pause there. Any questions before I jump into a case study or two?
No, I think this is Drew. I would just add, you know, obviously Genesys has been around for quite some time and you kind of said it, but the cloud it's not just a part of what you do. It is everything that you do. And it's
Correct.
Now the majority of every single aspect of your company. I think that's a very interesting fact for folks that maybe have had Genesys in the past or know of you in the past. It's not your dad's Genesys anymore.
Yeah. You got the new colors, the new brand, right? We've ditched the dad jeans. I mean, yeah. So from a historical standpoint, if anybody's used Genesys before in the past, you know, we've been around for 30 plus years, and we've had multiple iterations, kind of rebirths, if you will. And as recently as 36 months ago, we became a cloud company. Majority of revenue comes from cloud. Cloud is where our innovation is. So today, if you came to me and tried to buy a premise piece of software, you wouldn't get very far. All of our innovation goes into Genesys Cloud. That is our flagship product. It's the primary product, and it's where all of our customers are going. So you're spot on. So I'll jump into two little quick case studies that I think tell a pretty cool story. The first one is FINRA, which is a large regulatory authority in the financial industry space. FINRA actually came to Genesys pretty late in their evaluation. They had gone pretty far down the path with a couple of the vendors, and they were pretty set on not moving forward with us. But we took that kind of experience as a service mentality, the empathy, trust, loyalty to them. And it really opened up their mind to say, hang on, we've been looking at this through the lens of just replacing a call center, an old call center with a new call center, rather than actually transforming into a brand new CX environment. And what it did is it slowed down their evaluation a little bit. And we actually did a 9-month sales cycle with them. Again, they were pretty close to the finish line with the vendor that they were looking at. And we did a 9-month sales cycle, including 10 demos. Really focused on AI technology, focused on continuous innovation. Integrations were a huge component. You know, Sean mentioned it up front. That's another thing that's really critical in cloud, especially under an umbrella like AVANT. Right? Clouds are worthless if they don't talk to other clouds. A cloud on an island is completely worthless. So you have to be able to integrate to others. You have to be able to talk to them, speak in APIs, speak in data integrations. And that was key for FINRA with Microsoft Dynamics. And really an overall service delivery. So that's another key area. When you get into cloud, service delivery is king. At the end of the day, all the folks in our space, you saw it on the first slide with that Magic Quadrant, a lot of players in the space. All of them can effectively route a call, chat, text from point A to point B. So the service delivery becomes really, really critical on this. So FINRA ended up moving forward with a proof of concept. Again, they were a little hesitant. They'd gone down that path. And so we did a POC with them to actually prove out that we could do what we say we were going to do the full time. And because of their clientele and because of the type of deployment that they were doing, we also did a 6-month services engagement, which was really basically them doing a staff augmentation with our staff. So our employees effectively became FINRA employees for a 6-month period to make sure that every single thing went flawlessly. And they had a group of over 300 agents and went live just past few months and was really, really big success with the FINRA group. And then last little case study here, and this one is really fun for me because I was heavily involved with it. But a company called C-Link came to Genesys mid-February of 2020, wanted to start an evaluation. They were on a prem platform which was outdated and out of maintenance. Wanted to move to the cloud, and then a week later, right as we're gearing up for our first demo, got the stay-at-home order that everybody had to work from home. Under their environment, that was not feasible. So they asked on a Wednesday if we could be live on Monday. And we said, not exactly the most efficient way of doing it, but yeah, we could do that. We could be live in 4 days. And so we went to work on our side. We had a COVID-19 rapid response plan, which allowed them to sign a month-to-month contract and get live incredibly quickly. And also on top of that, that COVID-19 rapid response is now turned into a ready response. So we still have the same offers that are on the table, but allowed them to get live with no risk. And while we went to work building their call center, they went to work going and raiding every Best Buy and Target in the area to buy every Chromebook that was available. So I think they probably beat the market a little bit, but they got all the Chromebooks. And we went live Monday at noon. We turned them live with over 200 agents and had a 98% answer rate with over 4,000 calls the very next day, and allowed them to be compliant with the stay-at-home order, which was critical for them. They did fall under the exception of a essential business, but to their leadership team, they didn't want to have to use that exemption. They wanted their employees to stay safe. They wanted to get them at home in an environment where they could still be productive, but be conscious of their health and the safety of themselves and their families. So really, really pumped to be a part of that. I got to get my hands dirty on that one and get into the deployment and get into the contact center a bit. So
I think those are two great case studies that you just outlined, because you took something that was very large, right, and complex, and you had a very smooth transition and implementation for it. But then at the same time, you're able to spin up and turn on a dime to help customers too. So I think those are great case studies, Alex, and really appreciate you diving through those. I think we should start to move over to Five9 here, so we got some time at the end
absolutely,
to go over those questions. Was there anything else you'd like to touch on? I think
no. I mean, I think you summed it up. You summed it up there well and it kind of goes back to what I was saying before. We're not a one-size-fits-all platform, and our customers aren't one-size-fits-all. So if you need to go in 5 days, we can do it. If you want to do it in 6 months, we can do that too. So.
Excellent.
Yep.
Good job. Thank you very much. Jim, can you hear us okay? It looks like you got your slides ready to go, so we'll hand it over to you.
Awesome. Thanks. Do I have the right one up? I'm ready to swap displays.
I think you're good.
Can you hear me okay? Sean?
Yeah,
Jim,
you're good.
I think you're
sorry,
good.
I muted myself.
And you see the right version of the slides, not you see the proper one, not the dual panel.
You're good
Correct.
to go.
Yeah, you're good to go.
Great. Awesome. Thanks, Sean. Thanks, Drew. I'd like to thank everybody in the audience. It's great to be here. We're really excited about the conversation we're having today. And we're going to just walk you through a couple of components of where the cloud is going. We took a very different tact here to be more of a resource for you as you make a cloud decision. Ideally, we would be a partner you would look at, and we have plenty of time to talk to you about our solutions. So we're going to provide some value, some insight, and kind of a roadmap for evaluating and moving forward as you decide to move into the cloud or change cloud providers if that's the case. So we're going to clear up the forecast because the cloud isn't cloudy. There's two kinds of situations for people who aren't on the cloud yet. They're either not ready and they need more evidence to move forward or resources to execute a cloud strategy, or they're unsure of the cloud. So for those of you who are not ready, we're going to provide some help for you to build your business case. And certainly we can engage with you and create very strong operating models for with return on investment cases and so forth. So we're very happy to engage and help you put together a plan as well as a return on investment. As for those of you who are unsure of the cloud or the corporation is not ready to move to the cloud, I think that's a longer journey and conversation. We're happy to support you with that, but we're not going to focus on that today, if that's all right. So Gartner says the premise is yesterday. This is 2 years ago. So really the cloud is not tomorrow, it's today. Gartner no longer covers premise products as a magic quadrant for the contact center. This has a lot of ramifications and implications. There's no more investment going on in premise-based platforms, which will leave you behind. So we'd like to help you understand the opportunity for continuing to transform your contact center. Cloud transformation, digital transformation is really all enabled by a shift to the cloud or a CCaaS platform. So the opportunity here for you is to migrate and automate. Automate a lot of things, not just the customer journey, the friction that customers have, but automating a great deal of the activities in the contact center, agent performance and enhancement, operational, supervisory, and administrative activities and actions. The opportunity to build predictive, proactive, and personalized customer experiences that reduce friction, reduce handle time, reduce the whole overall friction that your consumers have when they try to reach you. So that's really the outcome that we drive to. So I'm going to walk through a few steps and strategies to help you understand what the options are and maybe some best tips and practices for you to leverage as you go through your journey of investigating the cloud ecosystem and excuse me, and investigating what might be the best vendor for you. So there's two journeys here. There are people who are moving to the cloud for the first time, and there's people who are changing cloud solutions. About 40% of Five9's business is people who are on a cloud platform that are dissatisfied and are moving or changing or coming to a new cloud provider. 40% of our business is that cloud to cloud transition. So that means that they've maybe wanted to spend a little bit more time in the investigation phase the first time they made this transition. So we're going to help both of these cases and help you understand, what are your options, how should you go about this, and what kind of outcomes should you be trying to achieve for your business. So firstly, the first point would be your starting point should be pick who the analysts pick. The analysts spend an enormous amount of time doing research. I would say a great shortcut would be take a look at Gartner. Gartner's probably the most recognized, most prestigious brand in the analyst space that takes a look at this. But look at Forrester, look at Omdia, look at all of the different analysts and look at what they're looking at and look at who they're choosing. I would shortcut this by pointing out Gartner did a very exhaustive examination of all the vendors, and I take a look at their critical capabilities report, particularly if you're in North America, the North American use case. And if you're looking at a roadmap, a journey of firstly doing contact center, the kind of traditional routing, agent enhancement performance, workforce optimization, but you want to add AI, workflow automation, and other ancillary or adjacent products to continue to enhance this on a longer roadmap. Look at the Agile use case. That's a very powerful commentary on the different vendors in the ecosystem, and it's very, very useful, we find. Also, listen to what the financial analysts say. The financial analyst community is now saying it's a duopoly of two vendors. And you certainly want to make sure you're including the top two vendors that the analysts say have thriving, profitable, high growth businesses that are succeeding and thriving in the space. So that's point one. Pick who the analysts pick. Point two. Let's borrow.
Hey Jim.
Yes,
before we go into point two, that previous slide almost teed it up perfectly for me. Coincidentally, for everybody out there, this is something that we do, as I mentioned earlier, in the Tenara scoring, where we'll take each of these components and appropriately weight the scoring into an analysis based on your requirements, so that you don't have to go read all these things. We can condense them down into a very informative, easy way to understand how it ranks out. So great way to point that out for us, Jim, on that, how we can incorporate that as a trusted advisor in the end-all solution criteria for the customer. Let's go to
That's
point
a
two.
really great point. Yeah, pick a great partner like your team, Sean, and have them do the legwork. Many companies can't do all of the core resourcing of all of the legwork, because we're going to call out a couple of resources you're going to need to nominate. You might run out of resources. And a great place to start is working with a great partner like Sean's team and have them help you, have them come in and do a diagnostic, understand your use cases, your needs, your outcomes you need to accomplish, and formulate that into, what does an ideal vendor look like, and then shortlist these for you so you can save a great deal of time and really deal with people who are qualified to pull off what you're trying to accomplish. That's a very good point. Thanks for raising that, Sean. Okay, so let's borrow a page from Steve Jobs at Apple and let's tweak it a little bit. And let's start with the customer experience. This is resource number one I would suggest that you look at. And Sean can help you with this as well. His team is very good at understanding the voice of the customer. We would suggest that you really understand how your consumers would like to engage with you. Not only how are they doing it today, but what does a roadmap of engagement with your consumers look like? Because it can be very different, and each use case is quite different. You could be B2B. There could be a guy with a wrench standing in a tire shop who's calling you. Digital chat may not be the most optimum way for that person to engage with you. However, somebody sitting down to research mortgages may have a stack of paper in front of them, maybe having a couple of windows open in front of them, and digital engagement would be a wonderful way to encourage them to engage with you. So you need to select a platform and work with a partner who can help and coach you and educate you, and then come up with something that doesn't shortlist you from being able or prevents you from being able to make really agile decisions in the future about how you're going to engage your consumers. And also, a lot of people have a great deal of internal traffic. So you also have to consider all of the voice of all of the consumers, all of the people who reach out to you for support, help, or they want to buy something. So, we would suggest that you start with those voices, make sure you understand what those voices are, and you have an advocate for those voices, because you want to meet your consumers where they are and what device or technology they want to reach out to you with. Number three, we see a lot of people making point decisions on AI products. That's not a bad decision, but it's also not a strategy. I think Sean's team can really help engage with you to understand what does a journey and a roadmap look like for you over time to engage your different constituents of people who are reaching out to you and build a strategy foundationally supported by AI to deliver outcomes for your business and deliver outcomes for your consumers. Because AI innovation delivers point applications, but a foundational AI layer creates a unified service delivery mechanism that can be analyzed, it can be tweaked, it can be optimized, and it can provide cross channel as well as cross user communities with information, so you can constantly tweak and optimize each one of your journeys to create the least amount of friction for your consumers and the most agent performance for your business. Won't go into all of these. A couple are pretty cool. Voice Stream, which is a product that we have, supports a solution that we call Agent Assist. We're in sessions streaming text to speech back to the agent console, so he or she not only gets confirmation that what they heard, they can read it, but we're also plumbing that into doing next best actions, walking somebody through a script. Okay, they just said they want to pay for this, automatically pop up the payment. They said that they need help with this, automatically pull up that knowledge base article. And at the end of the call, take that transcript, put it into the CRM platform, reduce or eliminate altogether post-call or after-call work, and allow the consumer or the agent to on to the next consumer. So a lot of different things you can do with AI. I think an AI strategy really helps, and I think it's really important to work with Sean's team to identify where AI can help your business, and then pick a platform rather than a strategy rather than a point solutions that may not be unified long-term. I'd like to talk to you how helped a regional bank of ours. So there's an example of a regional bank that they anecdotally let us know they were probably in the highest cost to serve in their market. And that was threatening the foundation of the bank. The banks have gone through tremendous change. This bank had been a little slow to go through their digital transformation, servicing their customers across multiple channels, really optimizing agent performance, and taking journeys that are really simple, friction-free, and highly automatable, and just taking that call volume and deflecting it because it wasn't providing any value for the bank to talk to these customers at that point, and it was only providing cost for the bank. So they had these challenges that you see on the left side, but their goals were, first of all, to survive, and then to increase their loyalty and cross-sell more services, which was a major gap for them. But with not high loyalty and with loss of higher profit customers, it was very difficult to do that. It was a real struggle. So we came in with a complete AI strategy, including all of the routing and functionality you would get from a typical contact center platform. And we revamped the customer experience, creating a very predictive and proactive outreach, which was very, very welcomed by the consumers. We used intent to understand why people were calling when we greeted them in context with the reason for their call. And what it did was it tremendously addressed costs. We set a goal of containing 4 of their journeys 100%, and we're on track to achieve that as this project comes to conclusion over the next 3 months. So overall, we really did a lot to improve the bottom line of this bank and to help them achieve some of their goals and outcomes. Are there any questions about this use case here? So what I want to point out here is the address cost with the 100% containment on 4 journeys. I want to talk about the next suggestion that we have, and that is set big, hairy, audacious goals. Go out there and look at big things that you want to achieve. Think outside the box. Put some real stakes in the ground about what this project's going to mean for your business, and then torture us. Make us deliver against those throughout the pre-implementation process as you're getting to know your vendors. Interrogate them for their ability to do this. Have them show you how they accomplish this. Make them give you case studies and have examples. And then get to know them and understand how they're going to do the service delivery and the post-sale support, because most of this type of work comes after implementation, where a really strong partnership with the vendor that you selected has the right team of people that continue to iterate at these journeys and create outcomes for you as subject matter experts by the silos of technologies you partnered with to have these outcomes be delivered. So we suggest you really think about some really huge, audacious goals and then force your vendor ecosystem to accomplish them and have them clearly explain that and elucidate how they're going to kind of get you there. An area that's coming up that we'd like you to make sure you're paying very close attention to is workflow automation. Workflow automation, so the death of the contact center is repeats and transfers. We all know that. All of you out there are very familiar with that. So workflow automation is a solution that really drives first contact resolution. It really helps you understand why you're getting things like transfers. It does a lot of different components. It's an enormously broad category. It's incredibly powerful and important. Make sure you are asking your vendor partners. Sean can educate you on the best ways to look at workflow automation for your specific entity and your use cases, but make sure you're taking a close look at that. Clearly, one of the areas that drives first contact resolution is UC integration. Being able to reach a knowledge worker in the back office who can solve a billing problem, can overcome a product issue, can help get a customer off the phone and on their way with support. Having a robust telephony platform behind your contact center as a service platform is something that's really important. And Sean's team is really the experts here. We integrate with them all, but we certainly believe that Sean would be the best person, best team to help you with that. So a little quick overview of Five9.
I'm going to ask you a quick question, which will speak to that next slide that you have up there on, if you can go forward to the one slide that you had, because we are getting to the hour here. Integration, like you said, to UC, I think that's something with Five9 UCaaS, and I'm glad you brought it up, that contact center layers in a lot of cases over top of the UC infrastructure, but having the right integration points to those vendors strategically. And I know there's a few out there, as an example, that have chosen Five9 as that integration partner to it.
That's right.
But when you start talking about AI integration and going into these other cloud fabrics, how do you guys accomplish that securely? And is there any, I know you hit all the compliance requirements, I think, on every vertical. So what would you like to address just from a security standpoint, that the cloud isn't cloudy? You don't have to be scared of going to the cloud.
Yeah, so we check all the boxes with one exception, FedRAMP. That'll be something that we'll accomplish over the next few years. But everything else, HIPAA, PCI, level 2, et cetera, we have, a very, very robust, high integrity PCI compliance. This is typically a conversation for Sean to tee up with the CISO of the enterprise prospect with our CISO team. We want you to talk directly to them, not hear a sales pitch, not have a solutions consultant talk about this. We make ourselves available, but security is far higher in the cloud when done correctly than in most premise types of environments. So to enable some of the things we talked about, this is 400 APIs. These are productized APIs that are fully enabled, active APIs, RESTful APIs that connect to any web services type of environment. Some of them are clearly custom. About 50% of our customers are either on a homegrown CRM or backend platform that enables the contact center to accomplish what they need to do. About 20% of them leverage our own internal CRM, which can batch information off of a legacy platform and enable it for the contact center. And then you see the major folks over on the right of this screen that we enable with productized APIs, which means they're not something that's a PS effort. And then when Oracle or Zendesk makes a change, now we have to go back and do a PS effort to fix it. It's a fully productized, enabled solution on the back end. Incidentally, for those of you in the IT world, you're familiar with a company called MuleSoft. We bought their competitor to bring in a whole NASCAR slide of productized APIs that sit on the back end. So we have a full abstraction layer that's completely productized and documented to help us connect to virtually anything that a web services interface can get to. A couple other things about us. Certainly we've been the darling of the analyst community. Gartner created the quote, "The white glove treatment comes from Five9." We've been in the Magic Quadrant for 6 years. We have, this is the small and medium and enterprise customers. We have about 4,000 customers, a couple 100,000 agents log in every day on our platform, but that doesn't matter. What matters is how do we implement the journeys you need to deliver the business outcomes and treat you like you're our only customer. And then how do we do that post-sale with customer success management that's dedicated to you, a technical account manager who is a cell phone in your city away that you can text and get quick updates, or you can set up, an hour or a day next week to do some more proactive predictive work to really help you take the customer experience to the next level. I know we're getting to the end here. I just thought I'd leave it with a little fun slide. We had this great conversation with an enormously transactional only prospect last week. And he said, that 100% journeys thing is for us, because for us, the best customer experience is no experience at all. They want to automate everything. And we can accomplish that for them. Not saying that's for you, but that's what it is for them. And we're going to help them enable that.
Great, Jim. Thank you very much. And to everybody that's out there, and we definitely tackled some questions along the way. I'm going to tee it up now for everybody that's left and end it by saying thank you for joining. We're going to shoot this out to everybody. Please